Bridget. It was fucking Bridget. Grow a dick, Bridget. She's a really nice person. She's got a great heart. You're a fucking test.
This bloke said, not a question, but I thought that Liv was Tom's sister and Bridget was his missus. That is too funny. Bridget and Tom together would be hilarious. I think they'd end up killing each other within a week, to be completely honest.
That would be chaos.
And can confirm I'm not Tom's sister. Incest is bad.
Adultery is bad.
Incest
is fucked up.
So that's definitely not the case. But thank you for. I'm glad we cleared that one up for you. Somebody asked, "What's our favourite position?" What are you gonna say?
My favourite position is boss man.
He likes to think he's the boss man anyway. For me, what would your dream vehicle be to do your missions in, and why?
Is this your question or my question?
Mine.
Don't worry about what she wants. I'll tell you what I want.
I don't know. Like, I love Nelly. Nelly has a lot of sentimental value for me. Even though
Nelly
Tom
is a heap of shit.
But like, I did a lot in her. I built her.
I get so attached to things.
I'm attached.
See ya.
No, I'm attached to Nelly. But my dream car.
Nelly's for sale. If anyone wants to buy Nelly, send us a message.
That is not open to the public at this
Nelly
moment.
is for sale.
Realistically, whatever car I'm in, I just want to make sure that I can keep my beers cold, I can take my dog with me, it's reliable, I can just tour wherever the fuck I want to go. That really is all it comes down to for me.
I want a Chevy. It's gonna suck because Liv can't park for shit. So if I get a Chevy and we build it into this beautiful big Tourer, I'm gonna have to like probably hire or lease somewhere to park it. A nice big Thorburns canopy on it. If you don't know what Thorburns is, jump on Instagram and have a look at Thorburns and Sons. Their canopies are mint.
Next question.
Alright, here we go.
How did you and your misso get together?
Okay.
Long story short, me and Tom have actually known each other since we were 12 years old. Our dads grew up together, and then when we were 12, my dad and his dad were like, oh, we'll take the kids to the Supercross, like the motocross stuff, and we ended up meeting that night. And can confirm, Tom has not changed one bit. He was the biggest smart ass I'd ever fucking met in my life. And anyway, we had kind of a little fling back then when we were like babies, when we were like 14, 15, 16 or whatever. Went our separate ways.
Stayed in touch over the years.
Oh yeah, stayed in touch over the years. We're always kind of mates, see each other here and there, have banter or whatever.
And we pretty much realised that we're very similar people with very similar interests. And yeah, we basically just started going fishing and hanging out. And Liv came away on a trip, and then yeah, it was pretty obvious that we had a fair bit in common. So yeah, since then it's been pretty awesome.
Tom's been in love with me for a long time. Tom just needed 10 years of, laying the groundwork out.
A strategy.
10 years later. Next question's kind of similar. Someone asked who chased who in the relationship, or was Liv just looking for a mechanic for Nelly?
Liv definitely needed a mechanic.
Nelly's fine. Look,
It had nothing to do with it, but she did need a mechanic.
But he definitely chased me.
Oh, I did not. I most definitely did not do any chasing.
He tricked me saying that there was a yowie in the spare bedroom.
There is a yowie in the spare bedroom.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a story for another day.
I'm the yowie. Anyway. I'm gonna piss like a pregnant woman. The pies here. The pie shop. Pies.
Well, yeah, we couldn't find a pie shop, but we got the burritos instead, so that's something. Someone asked, how did you get so good looking?
Who? Mr. Pretty Boy himself calling me good looking. I'm honoured. Some say I was kissed on the dick, mate. I'm trying to fucking merge and this cocksucker wants to sit next to me and hold my fucking mirror.
This one said, nothing to ask, but would just like to appreciate you guys and love the content.
Personally, I love talking, I love being able to help people, and
I love getting stuff like that. It honestly makes my day. So, someone asked, when are you doing a Northern Territory trip with real
actually did have sort of a trip planned out at the end of last year to head to the Cape and then go into the NT, but COVID fucked that for us. Or we'll send the Redneck Mobile up,
We'll be there.
and then we'll fly up.
This is another hunting question. So someone said, love the last video, Liv. Thank you. Do you guys also hunt with rifles, bows, etc.? Negative. I've only ever hunted with dogs and knives, mainly because I haven't got my gun license yet.
I'm probably not patient enough to shoot with a bow. Love shooting, love pigging, but not really interested in stalking for hours and hours and hours. Unless someone was like, hey, we have 10 million deer on this property, then I'd...
While we're on the hunting topic, go to this one. Would you consider taking a fan away hunting one weekend? I mean, yeah, like it would be good, but...
That's to you, I don't have fans.
It would be good, but like the thing is with hunting is that, I don't know, you guess you always have to make sure that the people you're taking away are actually know what's involved, I guess. Like it's just hard going, like you can be up all bloody night, you're walking long Ks.
And there's no guarantee.
That you're going to get a pig.
Like, we've walked, especially at the farm, like we know at the farm there's pigs there, like we go out there sometimes, there's diggings for days, but you won't see a pig. So I don't know, it'd be pretty hard because you take someone out there and you're like, don't see a pig, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
See what happens in the future. In the future, Liv's page might blow up even more, and then you know she might be able to go and do hunting trips with people and stuff like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Someone asked, why is Tom so shit at fishing?
I don't know if I'm shit at fishing. I'm not very good at it, but I'll say one thing. I don't think I've ever gone spearfishing and not brought home dinner.
That's because you eat anything. Someone asked, trip to the West Coast, question mark. Yes.
Yes, we already got to that.
Definitely on the cards.
The boys are going without us, not happy about it, but yeah, I'd love to be going this year, but it's not going to happen.
Obviously the shop's like our baby at the moment, so we're just building that up and getting that off the ground, and it's doing really, really well. So hopefully in the next couple of years we'll be able to do kind of like a real big trip, maybe head up, I don't know, through Northern Territory into Western Australia for a couple of weeks, maybe do South Australia on the way back, but
I'd love to do Cape. I'd love to do Cape and then head across.
That would be sick. Yeah. Alright, this one's not really a question. Someone said, I'm always hunting Glen Innes, going up next week, would love to tee up a hunting trip. That'd be mad.
That'd be good. Yeah, our weekends are pretty full, so don't take offense if we say we can't come.
Yeah. So what's been your best pigging trip? We haven't gone on that many pigging trips together.
What's your best pigging trip then?
My best pigging trip. My best pigging trip would have definitely been up in Cape York. So yeah, I took Tika up to Cape York with me, and we got to do a bit of hunting around there. And it was absolutely unreal. We had like the biggest pig we ended up getting, I think, was 117 kilos. Never experienced hunting like that before in my life, and it was just absolutely unreal. So that was definitely my favourite one. Can you move over to WA so I can get my D-Max tuned up from you?
You start up a workshop over there, mate. I'll do FIFO. I'll do a couple of weeks over in the shop over there. I'll do a couple of weeks in the shop over here. Fishing trip in between.
Yes.
That would be right up there.
Alright, this is for you, Dom. What gauges do you recommend for the 4JJ1 and what brand? Thanks.
I love Red Arc. Anything made by Red Arc is the duck's guts to me. Like, saying that, like I do like there's a boost and EGT gauge, and that's also got like coolant temp on it as well. That's probably the most practical gauge you can have. As for coolant temps, all that sort of stuff, the alpha gauge is pretty good. It's like an OBD2 thing, whereas you can read like void temperatures, pressures, all that sort of stuff. That's all you really need. Or something like an ultra gauge. Realistically, you don't need to run cables and independent sensors for coolant temp. Your computer already does it. All you need to do is be able to read it. So yeah, Red Arc or nothing.
Someone asked, what's the first 3 mods you would do when you buy a brand new car?
Well, I'll tell you the first 3 mods I did when I bought my brand new car. The first thing was sound deadener. The interior came out the day I picked it up, and basically put sound deadener through the whole car. The second thing, especially on a D-Max, is suspension. Factory suspension is shit, and anyone who's been in this car knows it rides like a cloud, so Fox suspension's a no-brainer. supply Denso injectors. So they're basically what's called OEM, so they're original engine manufacturers. So they basically supply them to Isuzu. In my opinion, don't touch anything but Denso. If anyone's selling nozzles, especially that's anything but Denso, don't touch them. They're noisy. In the past, I've run Delphi ones, I've tried GTX nozzles, I've tried even the Flex nozzles. They probably all do work, but with my past experiences, it's only Denso. So that's why we literally sell nothing but them on our website.
Next one. Do you drive with mud tyres on 24/7? If so, what's it like? The sound and the fuel efficiency?
Yeah, like I pretty much have never owned anything but mud tyres. To me, I'm really biased. I only ever run Hancooks. In the past, I've used had BFs, didn't like them, they were noisy and slippery. Had Mickey Thompsons, I've had a set of Coopers, but the last 3 sets of tyres I've had Hankook Dynapros, and I've got nearly 60,000 Ks on the D-Max now, and they're probably like 75%. Sounds ridiculous, but it's true. They're also super quiet in comparison to the Maxus, which is probably my next option, and they stick on the road incredibly. So yeah, I run muddies all day, every day.
Alright, so if you were to get a solid axle front 4B, what would you get and why?
Well, I actually already own one. I've got a 40 Series Land Cruiser, and I'm in the process at the moment of buying bits and pieces for it. It's about number 3 in the food chain for the next builds. So I've got a engine and some diffs and stuff like that sitting around for it. So yeah, be that for me. I'd also love a little GQ Shorty, drop a 4J in it, but I've only got so much space, so
We're literally going to have to get the biggest garage known to man for the amount of bloody cars you want to get.
can't wait.
What's the reason why you wouldn't run a catch can?
Oh, people love carrying on about this. Yeah, because it's an unpopular opinion. So basically, I don't recommend catch cans because most people don't pay enough attention to their cars to maintain them correctly. So I would say 80% of the catch cans that come into the workshop are blocked, over full, the breathers are popped open, like the vents. It's pretty much just a lack of maintenance, but as well as that, I just don't think they're made very well. They're always leaking. They're the main reasons. Also, I really don't think they're the main contributor to a build-up of soot in the intake. Saying that, there are certain vehicles that I wouldn't touch unless they have a catch can on them, like the ZD30s. So I basically wouldn't even dream about tuning one of them unless it had the, I think what's it called, an AD system, anti-bloody detonation system. Can't remember what they call it. But yeah, ZD30s, catch can. Other than that, put them in the bin.
Were you guys developing an exhaust for the RC Colorado / D-Max, or was I dreaming?
No, we do have a kit available. Bit of a pain in the ass to get an exhaust for one of those because you've got the long wheelbase, the short wheelbase, you've got 2 different types of turbos. So basically the kit that we've got available comes with both dump pipe options as well as like an intermediate pipe. So if you have the long wheelbase, you can put that in. If you have the short wheelbase, you don't have to put it in. So it's a very, very practical exhaust system, and they're pretty reasonably priced. I think retail is $1,050 plus freight, which is less than most. Aussie made, and they're either mild steel or aluminized steel, so definitely available.
What horsepower are stock 5-speed D-Max's clutches good for?
It's hard to say really. They're actually one of the worst designed clutches in my opinion. Like standard form, they're only about 700 kilos of clamping force. And it also depends on condition. Like I've seen them fail at 90,000 Ks, 120,000 Ks. So generally, mate, if you want to do horsepower upgrades without sounding like a salesman, you really should upgrade your clutch. Especially, nothing worse than getting a car on the dyno and having the clutch slip, then having to pull it off again, change your clutch, or have a customer come back later, put it back on the dyno again, which is more time, which equals more money. I honestly, if you have plans for more horsepower, you really need to be prepared and have a decent clutch.
Alright, another horsepower question.
Yep.
How much horsepower can you push without setting the fuel economy too high?
Look, it is vehicle specific, really. I want to try and stick to the common rail questions because that's my area of expertise, really. It doesn't really come into it too much with the common rails. Like, we've done a heap of high-powered tunes lately. We'll say 260 to 275 horsepower. The last, say, half a dozen that we've done are running an average of 10 litres per 100 to, say, 11 and a half, 12 litres per 100. So those cars are very powerful, very modified, and still have very good fuel economy. Quite often, if they're tuned correctly and you don't drive like a goose, you can expect to get better fuel economy if they're tuned correctly. Say, whether that be with a remap or piggyback ECU, add nozzles on top, add a bigger turbo on top. Generally, you're going to get similar or better fuel economy.
Someone said, howdy guys. G'day.
Howdy.
I've got a 2007 Rodeo. What supporting mods do you recommend for a big lift?
A big lift. Rodeos are a little bit of a pest. You really need to be sensible. We'll talk about my old car. In the front I had the torsion bars wound up to 4 inches, which is stupid and obnoxious, and parts do wear more aggressively than, say, a 2-inch lift. So, you know, you're going to chew through ball joints and bearings as well. So basically, supporting mods in the front end, you want to have, we use a 2-inch shock, so that limits your droop, so you have less breakages and bending of the steering rack arms and less damage to your steering rack. Yeah, you want your spacers, 2-inch shocks, ball joint flip, all that sort of stuff. And probably the most important thing is to have somebody who wheel aligns it properly. You know, a lot of the time, the likes of, you know, the big shops, Pettas and that sort of stuff won't touch shim adjustments. So you really need a really good wheel aligner, I should say, that is willing to put the shims in the top arms or remove shims to get your camber correct. We've got all the way up to 6-inch shocks, brake lines, all that sort of stuff. So I actually want to do a blog on that soon. Question I get all the time, and it's never a 5-second answer. At the end of the day, you really need something to suit what you're doing. If you think you're going to be a rock crawler in a Rodeo, it's a bad idea. You're going to break stuff.
And Tom, why did you choose an Auto D-Max over a manual?
I honestly think the biggest thing for me was, in my last ute, I went through 6 clutches. Obviously I was a little bit greedy with the power and made over 300 horsepower, but you know, I had literally a range of clutches, not naming any names, but it was a shit fight. In the end, I literally extended the gearbox harness so I could pull the gearbox back without dropping it to change the clutch. So yeah, I think it was just all clutched out. But on the bright side, that did encourage me to have our XHD clutch series design, and in my opinion there's no other clutch on the market like them. So
alright, do you guys just tune common rail engines? I've never seen patrols or old cruisers getting done.
yeah, well, we're common rail cowboys, so that's why we do that. Probably the biggest thing is, like, when I did my trade, I started in a workshop with a heap of old blokes who loved their mechanical diesels and had no interest in, for one, electrics, and for two, common rails just seemed way too complicated. But in my opinion, it's so much more simple. But I was basically raised in a workshop where I was appointed every single job that was common rail, so it was up to me to learn it myself, or, you know, go to courses and do it. So I'm very experienced in the area of common rail. Obviously I've had my fair share of work in the mechanical stuff, but it's not my favourite thing to do. We do have a few booked in for when the new dyno comes. That way I can spend a bit more time doing them. But yeah, at this point in time, we're just focusing on common rails. Plus, it's a small shop, like we can't do everything. And to try and do everything, you know, you just thin yourself out across the board, and you can't be good at the thing you're focusing on. So that's the main reason. But yes, we can. No, we don't do a lot of it.
Swell flaps. Should I have them removed?
Yep.
How many?
Delete them.
Toledo. How many have you seen
with my own eyes, maybe 6 or 8 engines. I would have seen hundreds and hundreds of loose screws in intake manifolds that would have potentially killed that engine. Like, I've got no doubt that I have saved over 100 engines. I'll drop a couple of photos here, right now. You know what I mean? Right here.
Right now.
Can you see them like that? Basically, this is the damage that's caused by those screws. We pulled an engine apart. A previous YouTube video was actually us stripping an engine that came in for a replacement because of it eating them at about 220, 240,000 Ks. Alt Control Deleto.
Will there be a sale on clutches anytime soon? With a praying emoji.
It's not likely with clutches, to be honest. There isn't a lot of markup in it, and there's a very saturated market. I will do a combo deal soon though.
Oh, he's a nice fella, aren't you?
I can't do a big discount, but
On our stainless snorkels versus Safari versus AirTech, what's the more power friendly?
I don't even know what an AirTech is. It must be some 200 series owner question. Nothing wrong, Karen. I mean, 200 series owners, they're fine. For me, I've got a Stano because I don't really care about how loud it is. Safari snorkels are definitely quieter.
Someone asked, do secondary fuel filters restrict flow?
Yes, they do. And under certain circumstances, we won't use a secondary fuel filter at all. Say the N70s with the stroker pumps. Stroker pumps have very fine tolerances in them, so we don't use them for them. Other than that, like if you don't have a stroker fuel pump, yeah, just put one in. The ones I generally use are a 30 micron because the main reason I use them is to have a secondary water trap filter, which from what I've seen, water is the biggest killer for injectors. I don't think you necessarily have to have the one with the sensor in it that tells you when there's water in the bowl. If you maintain them often enough, if you change your main fuel filter every service, unless you go to a servo that's got water coming out of the bloody Bowser, the 30 micron should be plenty for you.
Your personal opinion on the ALPHATECH Superstore?
I'm pretty biased because I sell it, but I'm sure you could jump on a heap of the forums, modified page, or I can give you a list of customers and you can ask them. But basically, I think it's the best bang for buck piggyback ECU on the market. There are similar ones around that do the same job. Basically, for about 1,800 bucks, you're getting on most cars 40 to 80 horsepower gain and a couple of hundred newton meters. Probably the most advanced that I know of for the common rails. So you got 2 tunes, you got the Bluetooth app. You know, the app, you can watch your rail pressure, your boost pressure, you can shift tunes on the fly. We've also got an off mode, so it's basically like we were never there. The way we wire them in, we'd be very surprised if any technician in any dealership would ever know it was there unless they were physically looking at the box hidden up behind the dash. I think they're brilliant. You know, I've had the one on my car for nearly 2 years now. The fuel economy is at this point in time 11.1 litres. When it's turned off, it's 13.5 litres pretty much all day, every day.
No, serious on you. What is the difference between a piggyback ECU, a chip, and a remap?
I knew this one was coming.
And if I get a remap, why should I get a dyno tune?
I'll start at chips. Basically, a chip is, in my opinion, very, very old technology. You know, mild, say 20% gains for about $1,200–1,500. At the time, they were really good. Now, it's dated. A remap alone is twice as good as a chip, and then in my opinion, a piggyback is twice as good as a remap. A remap is, in my opinion, a step up. Especially a remap that is custom tuned to suit your vehicle and your needs. I find a lot of places have like a stage 1, stage 2 remap, that sort of thing. Majority of the time we'll do one for someone who does a lot of towing, and then we'll do someone, you know, if they wanted a remap but they want to make good power with the right mods, you know, exhaust, all that sort of stuff. You know, you can make pretty good power with a chip. The difference between that and a piggyback ECU, in my opinion, is the fact that we can live tune a piggyback ECU. So I can literally put a car on the dyno, do a run, make adjustments, and do another run, and it's literally 30 seconds between two runs. Whereas a remap, a lot of the time what you have to do, or the process is, you plug into a car, you extract the file, essentially, the map that's in it, you do the necessary modifications, and then you load it back into the computer. It's a very time-consuming exercise. Whereas, yeah, like I said, the piggyback ECU, I can sit on the dyno for hours and just make small increments, tidy things up, that sort of stuff, and you're going to have it as good as pretty much possible. And in my opinion, that's why you can get a lot better gains with a piggyback ECU rather than a remap. If you're getting a remap and it's not going on a dyno, don't take your car there. If there's anyone who's willing to do a remap without putting it on a dyno, with very few exceptions, hey, it's not a good idea. The dyno is not what does the modifications. The dyno is a piece of testing equipment. Air fuel ratios, where the power comes in, at what RPM, what loads, max boost, all that sort of stuff. It's so you can put the car under load and safely monitor what's going on. If anyone's doing a lounge room tune or willing to put a file in bloody Bunnings car park, mate, don't waste your money, save your bloody engine.
Alright, what should I do in preparation for a tune on my Hilux?
Honestly, bare minimum would be a service. Fuel filter is very important, and especially in the Hiluxes or any common rail, to have your injectors tested beforehand. Just this week we had a car that came in for a tune. It definitely looked like it needed a bit of work. I recommended to the customer, before we go tune it, let's check the injectors, and we actually found a fair few things wrong. We found a leaking turbo, and it was actually a cracked spline in the tail shaft as well. So it doesn't sound very great when you ring me up and say, hey, I want to tune, and I say, yep, you need to do this, and this before. So people don't really appreciate it. They think I'm a salesman.
Alright, another one. How do I know if I need new injectors in my N70 Hilux?
Across the board in common rail diesels, majority of the time we can plug our computer in and we can check what is called an injector compensation value. So it basically gives us an insight as to how much each injector is helping the other one out. If your car's over 200,000 Ks in a common rail and you're going in for a service, if you have a decent mechanic, you can usually ask them to plug in and check your injectors. Most places charge between $70 and $250 to do a test. It doesn't take that long, but the tooling to check it is very expensive. Before you get to that next one, I want to mention as well, a lot of workshops in Australia will be willing to put nozzles on used injectors. We obviously sell nozzles to go on injectors, and we help a lot of people DIY install them. In the past, I've had bad experiences with nozzles that I've done myself, as good as I possibly could, and with other workshops as well, having nozzles leak into the sump after installing plus 30. So for that reason, me personally, I will never ever install a set of plus 30s to used injectors. I can't safely guarantee them and warrant them.
Sorry.
That's the cutest sneeze ever. We can't warrant them, we can't guarantee they're going to be great. You know, if I had never had any issues in the past, it wouldn't be a problem, but the fact that I have had issues in the past tells me that the best way to do it is to have brand spanking new injectors, brand new nozzles assembled there and then. And to be honest with you, I've never ever had a set of our pre-assembled injectors leak. In the past, I think I've seen about 10 sets leak on used injectors, but never on our nozzles, on our brand new injectors has it ever happened. Ours are assembled in a temperature controlled room by a fuel injection specialist, and every single injector that we send out with plus 30s is tested prior to being sent out, which I'm quite sure that there's not very many, if any at all, other workshops that do that on their plus 30s. So you'll probably find that ours are a bit more expensive than everyone else's, but I feel like it's easily justifiable.
Apologies if we did not get to your question. Like I said, we are running out of a bit of daylight. I hope you guys are happy with your answers. I hope we enlightened you a little bit, maybe. Taught you something. Maybe.
There's actually a good amount of questions. Like we put that post up this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that I'm pretty humbled by the amount of interest that we do get in the stuff that we're doing. Like, we're so small. We're such a small fish in such a big ocean. and in comparison to some of these massive big workshops and corporations and family businesses that have been around for years and years, like, all jokes aside, we got the keys to the workshop at the start of December. You know, before that I was working mobile and looking after workshops and doing the sales and that sort of stuff. Like, it's incredibly humbling how fast things have picked up, and how much interest and how much trust people have in us. So yeah, it's really cool.
Awesome. But
thanks for chiming in.
Hope you guys all have a cracker weekend. Obviously like and subscribe if you like this, and if you want to see more of what Tom and the boys get up to in the workshop, or if you just like watching blokes work on cars, that's your thing, go for gold as well.
Share our stuff. It
Yeah,
really
share it.
does help. Share it on bloody the Facebook forums, everywhere you can. Like, I know every YouTube video you watch, like, oh, like, share, and subscribe. I might be greedy, but I want more. I want you to share it on the bloody Facebook pages. I want people to get involved. You know, like I said, we love what we do, and the more we can do it, and the bigger scale that we can do it on, the cooler shit we can do. So,
100%.
alright, I'm off.
Alright, thanks guys. You.
See ya.